Peter Jones. This is
Mike Redron.
Mike. What made you become a police officer?
My father was a firefighter, and it was a toss-up between either being a firefighter or a police officer. It was just I didn't want to sit in an office for the rest of my life, and either one of those seemed like good careers to go into. So,
How long have you been in law enforcement?
as a military cop. I was 6 years in the Air Force, and then I've been a Lowell police officer for 17 years now.
Now, you were in the Air Force, so does that give you like the upper hand to become a cop later on, or?
It does. In Massachusetts, there's the civil service exam, and if you were a veteran, you get a preference. You go to the top of the list. Above, no matter what as long as you pass the test, you get put ahead of everybody else because of your veteran status.
Now, when you became a cop, did you start at the very bottom, or you started off?
Yep, I started at the bottom. Most guys, it's changed a lot now, but 17 years ago, most of us started with some of the crappier jobs or less exciting jobs. We had, I was a walking route, which isn't always the most exciting thing because you can't go to emergency calls on foot usually. I was like the wagon man, which was picking up prisoners is all you did. You didn't answer any calls, you just went and picked up the prisoners.
Now, what is that like?
Everybody's already upset, so it's kind of a harder job sometimes. You have to explain to the people that you pick up that I'm not the guy that arrested you, I'm just the one giving you the ride to the station. Then you help the booking attendants like book the prisoners and get them logged into their cells and stuff.
What is your job as a police officer now?
For the last 6 years, I've been assigned as a task force officer with the ATF, which is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. It's a really good job. It's really interesting. So I get to deal with gun trafficking and drug trafficking. Basically, those are the cases that we do.
Have you had any big drug busts?
I mean, good size. Probably the biggest one was when I was with the gang unit. I assisted the narcotics unit. So I was with the gang unit for about 3 years back in like 2007 to about 2010, and we got probably 75 pounds of marijuana and about $280,000 in cash. So that was probably one of the bigger ones.
Do you like your job that you have now, or the job when you first started?
Oh, definitely the job now. A lot of experience has gone through, so I learned a lot along the way, and in the job that I'm at now, I get to use most of the stuff that I've learned along the way. I get to incorporate in what I'm doing now, so I really enjoy it.
What is the difference between the two of them?
The other one, the patrol side of things, working like in uniform, is more of a reactionary thing for the most part. So you get a call, you answer your call, you solve the problem that for whatever call you went to, and then what I'm doing now is more investigations. So we start an investigation, we find out who a bad guy is, and we use informants, we use undercover agents, undercover officers, and investigate into the case. And so it's kind of like a whole different perspective on it. We come from the backside doing this, and then on the patrol side, you're more responding to an incident or a problem that occurs.
Now, do you still get butterflies like when you get to the job, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, not every day, obviously,
Yeah.
but if we do a lot of search warrants, we do a lot of raids, and anybody that tells you that they don't get a little nervous beforehand is lying to you, because you never know what's going to happen. It's a crazy career field as far as that goes. Like every day is something different, and you know what? Being nervous is part of the game. It keeps you on your toes. You start thinking about all the training you've been through, and it kind of brings you back into into that training mode, remembering what you should be doing and the safest way to do things.
Now, has there been a job where you're thinking about your family at the same time while you're going?
I wouldn't say that. Not while you're at a call, just because there's too many other things going through your head. Mm-hmm. Sometimes right after a call, I've thought of my family, and geez, that was a close one. But not usually while you're in it, because your mind's thinking of too many different things at once about, with the situation that you're in, If you're having to fight somebody, if you know you have to draw your weapon, anything like that, your mind's going through so many different scenarios.
Were you nervous when you first started as a police officer?
Oh yeah. Well, because it's the fear of the unknown. The other officers you work with have more knowledge than you. The bad guys have more knowledge than you because you're new. You've only learned what you learned in a classroom, and there's a lot to be said for what you learn from like street experience, from actually working and dealing with guys that aren't good people. So you learn their tricks too. So yeah, you're definitely more nervous at the beginning, and then as your confidence grows, your nervousness kind of subsides.
Do you remember your first arrest, and could you tell the story in detail if you would like to?
I probably don't remember my very first arrest. Usually you start in a training phase, you're with a training officer. So I gotta be honest, it was probably like a domestic arrest. But I remember one of the first arrests I actually made on my own when I wasn't with the training officer anymore and I was actually out on the street. I had a guy that was attempting to entice little kids into his van, and myself and another officer found the van hidden behind a building at the same time. And turns out the guy had rope, he had like comic books to entice kids, candy, all in this. It was like a big van that was just kind of a piece of junk. And he had like a mask, he had all this stuff to try and basically kidnap kids, it looked like. And there was loads of drugs in the van that the guy was actually on himself. Once we got the guy out, it turned into a big fight, trying to arrest him. A big foot pursuit that went, if you're familiar with the boulevard in Lowell, went down the boulevard. There was a canine officer there, released his dog, the dog chased him and bit the guy kept fighting. I pepper sprayed him. It was a long ordeal just to catch this guy. He was so whacked out on drugs, but that was one of the first arrests that I actually made on my own without a training officer with me.
Have you had any bad encounters while arresting somebody?
Yeah, a lot of the arrests go bad, but at the same time, it's probably, I would say about 75% of the arrests you make go uneventfully, and then there's that 25% that usually people are okay until they realize that they're going to jail, and that's when the bad times start. And yeah, so we've had some pretty good fights. I actually became a defensive tactics instructor because I wanted to keep my training up and be better at any of that physical stuff that we had to do, any of the use of force stuff that we have. So I became an instructor in that about 10 years ago. So I teach at the police academy here in Lowell. I teach at some other academies. Just it helps me keep up on my tactical edge. So.
Do you like the feeling of arresting another person?
Yes and no. Sometimes it's satisfying because the guy's a real jerk, and it's nice to make a difference on some people that are pretty bad like that. But then there's some that you don't have a choice. Domestic incidents are really bad, especially if two people are in fights in front of their kids, and you don't want to arrest somebody in front of their children. I mean, it just leaves a lasting impression on small kids, and so it's a tough spot to be in that it's not enjoyable to do. So yeah, so there's some that aren't enjoyable, there's some that are, but it's you look at it as just part of your job anyway.